Yeah, it runs against everything I think that we were taught growing up. You know, all of us grew up in the post World War II era, where the U.S. was supposed to be the good guy, and we put things in place, international law, and we stood for certain things, and it's all been dismantled at this point. And listen, we weren't always super compliant and didn't hold ourselves to the standards that we had set, but now we're just like twirling mustache evil. We mentioned World War II. It came up a couple times. Today is actually a big anniversary. It was 84 years ago on this date that Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, bringing the U.S. into World War II. And Derek, as a Marine Corps veteran, I will let you have a couple words about Pearl Harbor.
Um, I mean, yeah, it was a heinous attack. But 84 years ago, you know, to put that into perspective, anybody remember the Gettysburg Address when President Lincoln said 7 years ago? A score is 20 years. So Gettysburg to the American Revolution was 87 years. We're about the same distance from Pearl Harbor that the Revolution was from the Civil War.
And if you look, it was about 80 some odd years between those two things. You're getting into something I like very much, and I highly recommend people read like a book called Generations or The Fourth Turning. This is by historians Strauss and Howe. I forget their exact names. Good stuff in there, but basically it talks about how, every 4 generations or so, the length of a very long human lifetime, as the people who fought the last big battle pass, we forget their lessons. Cindy, you were fortunate enough to know somebody. Yes. Cindy, you had a kind of an interesting Pearl Harbor tangent that you mentioned before we started today.
Right. I was in Eddie Bernice Johnson's office as a legislative fellow in 2018, 2019. And she was one of the proponents of getting Dory Miller the Congressional Medal of Honor. And he received the Navy Cross. In fact, I think he was the first African-American to receive the Navy Cross. She knew him. They were from the same hometown. They were both from Waco, Texas. So as a young girl, she told a story, one of their many stories, which were phenomenal, that when she was a young girl, they went door to door to collect money to get to him for, and I don't remember what it was. And then he came back to their hometown on leave, and they presented him with whatever it was they'd collected this money for. So it was very near and dear to her heart, because he was not allowed to receive that Congressional Medal of Honor because of his race. And being part of that and watching her push that through as a personal mission, I think in one of her later interviews before she passed away a couple of years ago, she said that she would keep pushing for this until the day she died. And indeed she did. I think now Congressman Maffume has taken up the mantle of this, but it was initially started by Debbie Dingell's father-in-law, John Dingell's father from Michigan. So this has been going on for a long time. And I wasn't part of a congressional office when Biden was in his term. So I don't know what happened and why Biden didn't do that. I was kind of expecting it, which I would imagine they might have been expecting that to happen too. But I'm not really sure what happened there. But I think it is something that does need to be done. And having been a part of helping push some of this legislation through, it is something that I am very aware of. But I think the movie, Derek, you'll have to tell me the name of the movie because I'm not very good with names of movies, that portrayed his character, I think brought a lot of attention to him, and I think we've kind of forgotten that.
Yeah, the movie was Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what he did was, if you don't know the story, Dory Miller, he was a cook, a messman, and when his superior command superior was injured, helped get him to safety and took over a machine gun, which he was not allowed to actually run, and shot down planes. And I think he was on the I don't remember what ship he was on. I'm not a military history person, but I do know. I think he might have been on the West Virginia. Um, if that was I think that was one of those that was there. But it really is an inspiring story of courage and bravery and you know, things that people do because they're good humans. And we really need to be highlighting those stories today, because we're seeing so many things where we're highlighting stories where they're not good humans.
Yeah, certainly. Ross, do you have any tangential stories related to Pearl Harbor or even the war in general?
Well, I think it is important to remember that we had a segregated military throughout World War II, and up to that time, it was President Truman, good Democrat, after the war, who, much to the chagrin of a lot of people in charge, insisted that we desegregate the military, which seems like strategically seems like a no-brainer, right? Where you would want your best forces, regardless of race, to be in the best possible spot. But we still operated with a segregated military that would have a soldier be a cook rather than a fighter because of his race and because of stereotypes. We can't forget. Again, it's a long time ago in one sense, but it's not that long ago in the big scheme of the world to remember that during this time, we were still operating. I guess in all fairness, we can thank Woodrow Wilson, a particularly bad Democrat, who insisted on resegregating everything in our government. But yeah, I think it is a story like that, and a story of that man's bravery, reminds us how stupid racism is in every aspect of what we do.
Those soldiers, who gave their lives on Pearl Harbor and through the course of the war, my grandparents' generation, they did not fight and die to defeat fascism for it to rear its head in our country a lifetime later. So it is on us and our generation to stop this current iteration. Listen, we are at 2 hours, and I'm going to go ahead and wrap this thing up. But first, I want to give each of you an opportunity again to one more time shamelessly promote yourself. And this time I'm going to go backwards and start with you, Ross.
Well, what people need to do if they're watching a program like this and they are saying, boy, this has me fired up. I can't believe all these things that are going on. We defeat these things through electoral politics. We defeat fascism through electoral politics. So get involved in politics. If you're somebody that says, I hate this, but I hate politics, well, listen, you got to start loving politics. You got to get involved. So if you're where I live in Bartholomew County, Indiana, and you want to get involved, barthdems.org. We need your help. Our candidates need your help. Cindy Worth needs your help. Get in the game.
Yep. You might not be into politics, but politics is into you. Derek, how about you?
Find me on all the socials at Hold 'em Accountable, and be
benefit from your donation as if it's made directly to us. But you can find us at worthforcongress.com, WIRTH. Get involved. Like you said, if you don't like politics, politics is affecting you. When you grocery shop, when you send your kids to school, when you cash that Social Security check, it affects you. So reach out. We would love to have you on board.
Very good. Well said, Cindy. Well said, each of you. Thank you all for joining me. Once again, I ask folks to please subscribe at whosleft.us and follow on the socials. That is my handle there as well. But in the meantime, on behalf of Derek, Ross, and Cindy, my name is Scott Aaron Rogers. Love each other, Indiana.